This is 911. Do you have an emergency?
Today on Rescue 911, a family outing takes a tragic turn. An unlicensed scuba diver delves into deep trouble.
He grabbed my regulator out of my mouth.
She was screaming for help. Oh my God, he's gonna die.
I couldn't tell his parents that he drowned.
Plus, a hornet bite threatens a grown man's life.
Within a matter of seconds, he was suffocating.
I thought he was dead.
On Rescue 911.
It's not always easy to walk away from an adventure, but there can be a high price to pay for not accepting the limits of our abilities. I'm William Shatner. Tonight, true stories of heroes who think with their hearts on Rescue 911. We begin on May 29th, 1993, as Rita Cannell, her husband, her son, and his close friend were preparing to go scuba diving in Puget Sound near Seattle, Washington. Although 20-year-old Greg Goldstein had no formal training, he was excited about making his first real dive that afternoon.
Greg had been talking to my parents about diving and all the situations we've done, all the experiences we've had, and he was really excited about going diving.
Okay, do the big Velcro one first.
We had gone out the weekend before and done a lot of practice. We went through everything I could think of that I had gone through with my certification.
Greg had such a great dive, his first dive. We weren't that concerned about his certification.
When we got to the bottom, we could not even see Bob and Jason due to the poor visibility. Greg and I decided that we would go about our dive thinking that we would eventually meet up with them. I love to dive in Puget Sound because it's dark, soft. The life is very, very quiet and still. There's kind of a mystery to it. I realized that we were close to 75 feet. I didn't want to be that deep with Greg. So I signaled that we were going to go up. He had his buoyancy device in his hand, and he was having trouble with his inflator. I looked at Greg's gauge and realized we're in trouble. He has no air left. And then he grabbed my regulator out of my mouth. It took me a moment to get my emergency, get it cleared and get it in my mouth. But we had plenty of air to get us to the surface. I didn't feel we were in any type of a critical situation at all. We were just going to buddy breathe up to the surface. We started kicking. And we were kicking so hard that I was getting cramps in my legs. But we could get nowhere. Greg was too heavy. I was going to ditch his weight belt. Greg let go of me to grab that regulator. I was like a cork shooting out of control to the surface. I had a sensation of Greg on the bottom without air, and I knew that he was drowning. I knew that.
When we continue,
I thought, how will I tell his mother? What will I say to his mother? I couldn't tell his parents that he drowned.
Rita happened to surface right near Trucks Turkla and 2 other rescue-certified dive masters.
She came up so fast that she shot out of the water. She was screaming for help. Oh my God, he's gonna die.
My buddy is down there. I just lost my buddy.
Okay, where is he? How far?
She says he's right below us. He's directly below us. It's 70, 75 feet. He's still down there. You gotta go get him.
How much air do you guys have?
I didn't have enough air to go back down, but Bill and Ken both told me they had enough air.
Go! Go!
She was almost hysterical. She almost fought me to go back down.
No, you come with me.
Come
Come on to the boat.
I thought, how will I tell his mother? What will I say to his mother?
Calm down.
I couldn't tell his parents that he drowned. They had to save him.
Although trained in rescue diving, Bill Kaloran and Ken Kali'ia'a had never tried to save someone before.
I noticed there was some bubbles coming up, so I went straight down and followed his bubbles.
And we descended for about 15, 20 feet, and the trail of bubbles just disappeared. And right there, I knew that there was no more breathing involved whatsoever by this person down there.
I was just lucky. I found him right where I landed, on the bottom. His mask was off his face, his eyes was wide open. His skin was real pale, like a picture out of a horror movie.
Ken was struggling to try to bring him up, so I immediately dumped his weight belt. On our way up, I was constantly looking at his face to look for any kind of movement or any kind of sign of consciousness, and there was none whatsoever.
They got him! Okay.
I knew he wasn't breathing, but I checked to make sure anyway.
He's not breathing. He's not breathing.
And we started our mouth-to-mouth count, breathing for him every 5 seconds.
1,002, 1,003, 1,004.
And as you're counting, you're starting to remove your equipment.
1,001, 1,002, 1,003, 1,004.
I was able to get on the boat very quickly. I got inside and I tried to start it. It wouldn't start.
1,001, 1,002, 1,003, 1,004. 1,004. Hey! Hey!
A guy in a Zodiac was cruising by. I said, quick, we have a drowned diver. Get him in the boat, get him to shore, and call 911.
1,001, 1,002.
As I was into giving him mouth-to-mouth several cycles, I noticed he inhaled on his own.
Breathing!
And that was the best thing I'd ever seen that whole day.
Come on, pal. Come on, man. Come on, man.
Bill and I just started to yell, breathe, breathe, come on. Don't stop breathing, just breathe, hoping that he could hear us.
Hey! Hey, over here! Come on! Go! Keep breathing! Go! Stop breathing! Let's go! Keep in the boat!
All of a sudden, here's this Zodiac. It's like godsend. It was excellent. He was barely breathing. It was real shallow, gargly. A lot of water was being exhaled and inhaled.
District 13, diving accident at KVI Beach. Time now 13:05, KO1933. Bill 3 to KVI Beach.
Come on, man. Keep breathing, bud. Come on. You can do it. You can do it. Got it?
When Trucks finally managed to get the boat started, he picked up Rita's son and her husband Bob and headed for shore.
Rita was real frantic. It was really hard to get anything that was too much coherent out of her. And she was saying something about, I killed Greg. Greg is hurt. We ran out of air.
Right here. Come on, I'm ready.
The gentleman in the Zodiac pulled up and said, the paramedics need the dive partner now. And I just kind of threw myself into the boat and we headed into shore. I'm a nurse at the health center here on the island, and I deal with this aid crew on a very regular basis. And once I identified them, I knew that he was in good hands. So I ran to Greg, And I knelt down next to him. I kept saying, Greg, don't fight. Don't fight, buddy. You're okay. You're not underwater anymore. And he seemed to quiet down.
King County paramedic Kathleen Bonner took charge at the scene.
This young man had a classic near drowning. He was in acute respiratory distress. He was unable to breathe on his own efficiently. He was coughing and choking and spitting a lot.
So, Rita, how far down were you?
He had fluid in his lungs from the bases up to the clavicles, which is not a good sign.
I don't know.
I just couldn't handle it, and I turned around and I just kept saying, we shouldn't have taken him down. We shouldn't have taken him down.
He did not know his age. He didn't even know that he had been diving. It was very clear that he was unable to get oxygen to his brain.
Greg was taken to Virginia Mason Medical Center, where he was treated by critical care physician Stephen Kirtland.
Okay, has he shown any kind of response?
His lungs were severely injured. The amount of oxygen getting into his blood was very small. In addition, there was the concern of an air embolism or an air bubble being trapped in his brain.
I'll hold the door for you.
Greg was treated in the hyperbaric chamber for 8 hours.
How you doing?
Hi, Greg.
When I got to see Greg, I said, Greg, I am so sorry. I didn't mean to leave you. I didn't desert you. And he gave me the thumbs up and a little nod on the head. And he just kind of reassured me that it was okay.
I can't blame Rita for what happened to us. I feel that she did her best to get us both to the top. It was just a freak accident.
20-year-old Greg Goldstein was released from the hospital without any permanent injury. Recently, he got a chance to meet the men who saved his life that day.
I think the whole scene, all the way around, was extremely lucky.
I think there's a class starting on Tuesday. You up for it?
Sure.
I'd like people to know diving isn't that dangerous. The only reason that they had a problem is because he wasn't trained. Otherwise, none of this would have even taken place.
You don't just give somebody the keys to a plane to fly without a pilot's license. The same thing goes for scuba. You don't just give somebody a cylinder and a vest and some fins and a mask and here you go, have fun. It just don't work that way.
I will not take anybody down that's not certified, no matter how enthusiastic the people are to. You need to really take a look at what is at stake.
I plan on getting certified as soon as possible. If it wasn't for those divers being there at that point, I don't think I'd be here today at all. I can't say thank you enough for what they had done.
Next.
I tell him not to panic when bees come, just to be still.
"62-year-old Norman Schlosser had been spending the 1994 4th of July weekend with 4 of his adult children and their families at a cabin in the Great Smoky Mountains in North Carolina. Like the others, Norman's son Steve was enjoying the last night of their stay, never really expecting anything could go wrong.
I've been playing the banjo and listening to the bugs sing with my son James, who is blind. James, he heard a bee fly up.
I'm scared, Daddy.
And he said, "Daddy, there's a bee out here."
Where? Don't worry.
So I tell him not to panic when bees come, just to be still and quiet so he can hear them and know where they're at. When I opened up the door, he flew right in.
Rita was the youngest of Norman's 6 children.
I told everyone to relax, and we were going to try and get the bee out.
It's okay, girls.
My dad was sitting next to a lamp, and the Hornet evidently was attracted by the light. It stung him on the back of the neck.
Norman's oldest daughter, Kathy, rushed in to help.
The sound of his screaming was just like someone was attacking him violently.
I got the bee.
My father's been stung before by different types of bees and has never had a reaction. We had no first aid kit, so we applied an old-fashioned southern remedy, wet tobacco on his sting.
It's gonna make you feel better. Tobacco on you, okay? I'll be right back.
I figured he'd be all right, you know, within half an hour or so after the hurt went away.
Couldn't find it anywhere. Did I start to feel sick?
After about 5 minutes, he said he was feeling nauseous.
I feel a lot better. Yes.
He hit the floor so hard that I knew when I saw him go down, this was a serious situation. There was no phone in the cabin. The only phone was at the lodge.
Well, he was gasping for air and he couldn't breathe. His throat was closing up. Within a matter of seconds, he was suffocating. I knew I had to do something.
Daddy, you all right?
I felt totally helpless, totally in shock. And I saw his body kind of go rigid and very unnatural looking.
I've never been trained in CPR, but I pried his mouth open and started blowing into his lungs the best I could.
Daddy, can you hear me?
Please help. Help.
When Kathy reached the lodge, the desk clerk called 911 and asked cook Rhonda Bachman, who happened to be an EMT, if she could help.
You might want to check it out.
I just heard that someone had fainted. I just thought, well, I'll just go and monitor it until the ambulance gets there.
Come on, Dad.
I could see my dad's face, and it was changing colors rapidly. He turned about 3 different shades of gray. I started crying because I thought he was dying.
Help is on the way. The ambulance is coming, Louise.
At one point, I knew that we had lost Dad.
More than 10 minutes had passed since Norman was stung.
When I saw him, I thought he was dead.
Okay, you're not getting in here.
I didn't know who she was. I just knew that she was there to help, and she was like an angel from heaven.
I had noticed that his chest wasn't rising when his son was giving him ventilation, so I went ahead and repositioned his neck. I felt his neck for a pulse, and I couldn't feel anything. So I started giving him CPR.
Go.
It took every breath I had. It literally exhausted me.
It was after one of my compressions that we heard him gasp for air.
15 minutes after Norman collapsed, a Swain County medic unit arrived on the scene, including EMT Lewis Crisp.
Because of allergic reaction of the sting, we administered the epinephrine to the patient. He responded within seconds. But just because we had administered the drug, we still had a life-threatening situation.
That was a terrible feeling, seeing my dad being loaded into an ambulance and not knowing if he was going to make it.
Norman Slosser was taken to Swain County Hospital, where he was put under the care of the emergency physician, Marcus Williams.
Mr. Slosser came into our emergency room with a blood pressure of 80 over nothing. He received adrenaline at the scene. However, this is a stopgap effort. Unless we give the additional antihistamines and steroids, the reaction can come back.
I had no idea what shape he was in. And all I could do was just hope that he was going to be fine and come home with us where he belongs. And he did. So I'm very thankful.
Norman Slosser has completely recovered from the incident that nearly took his life a month and a half earlier.
Unless you go through a death experience like this, it's hard to express how much you think of those people and what they've done for me. Without the help of my family and Rhonda and the EMTs, I would not be here today.
Seeing you walk around is good.
Oh, really?
And the fact that I was able to keep him going until the paramedics got there, that was a major rush for me.
I tell you how much I appreciate it.
Rhonda, I was really glad to really let her know from my heart how important she was to me and everybody else.
Today, my dad carries a prescription bee kit with him when he's outdoors, and he can't be without that.
When I think about what happened that night, it really stirs up my emotion because I was scared that he was gone. And I was just terribly frightened of all the things that I'd never told him, that I had wanted to tell him, like that I love him. But to have the second chance with my father is kind of like having a whole new friendship with him.
Mr. Shapiro, step out of the car, please.